Hi students, welcome home to Maths. A patient presented with cyst on the side of his neck, and upon removal, he found it difficult to turn his head to the opposite side and also to shrug his shoulders. Now, why did this happen? So, this is the side view of the neck with the muscles exposed. This muscle is the key muscle of the neck known as sternocleidomastoid, which helps to turn our head to the opposite side. This muscle is trapezius, which helps to shrug our shoulders, and they form the boundaries of the very important triangle on the side of the neck. This triangle is posterior triangle. Posterior triangle. And in this posterior triangle, there is a very important nerve. This nerve is spinal accessory nerve. If the spinal accessory nerve is injured, sternocleidomastoid and trapezius will lose its nerve supply, and the patient will not be able to turn his head to the opposite side or shrug his shoulders. So, the sternocleidomastoid is the key muscle of the neck. In front of it, it is anterior triangle, and behind it, it is the posterior triangle. So, posterior triangle by definition is a triangular space on the side of the neck behind sternocleidomastoid. Before we learn the boundaries, identify two bony points. This is superior nuchal line on your occipital bone, and this process which you can feel behind your ear, this is mastoid process. Before we draw the boundaries of posterior triangle, let us see the structures for a better understanding. Now, here is the posterior triangle. First, the roof. Roof is formed by skin. Remove the skin, we find superficial fascia. In the superficial fascia, you have to remember three structures. One, platysma. That's the first muscle. Remove platysma, we'll be able to identify the external jugular vein and also four cutaneous nerves. And then below the superficial fascia lies this structure, that is investing layer of deep cervical fascia. This is the roof. Now, once we remove this investing layer of deep cervical fascia, the floor will be exposed, which is formed by these muscles, that is Semispinalis capitis, Splenius capitis, Levator scapulae, and Scalenus posterior and medius muscles. So, we'll draw the boundaries of the posterior triangle now, which is high key for the exams. Now, first draw the manubrium, because sternocleidomastoid takes origin from here. This is manubrium. Label this as manubrium. Then, draw the clavicle, because this is going to form the floor. So, label this as middle 1/3 of clavicle. Then, draw the key bone here. This is mastoid process, and this is superior nuchal line. So, label this as mastoid process, which you felt just now behind your ears, and this is superior nuchal line. Now that the bony points are clear, first we'll draw the boundaries, that's the muscle. So, this is one head of sternocleidomastoid taking origin from sternum, and this is from the clavicle. So, this muscle is sternocleidomastoid, the key muscle in the neck, which is partly inserted to the mastoid and to the superior nuchal line. This is sternocleidomastoid. So, label this muscle as sternocleidomastoid. Then draw the trapezius, which takes origin from the superior nuchal line and gets inserted to lateral 1/3 of the clavicle. So this is trapezius. So this is the apex of posterior triangle. This is the base of posterior triangle. This is the anterior boundary and this is the posterior boundary. Anterior boundary is formed by posterior border of sternocleidomastoid. Posterior boundary is formed by anterior border of trapezius. Base is formed by middle 1/3 of the clavicle and apex is formed at the superior nuchal line where sternocleidomastoid and trapezius will meet. Then the roof, which is formed by skin, superficial fascia. In the superficial fascia is platysma, which we will not draw over here. Then the 4 cutaneous nerves. So the first is lesser occipital. Then we have great auricular, transverse cervical and supraclavicular nerves. So we label these 4 cutaneous nerves which forms the roof. This is lesser occipital nerve. This is great auricular nerve. This is transverse cervical nerve and these are supraclavicular nerves. Apart from the cutaneous nerves that form the roof, we also have external jugular vein. So label this as external jugular vein. So beneath these, we have the investing layer of deep cervical fascia. So this thin shade here, this is investing layer of deep cervical fascia, which is pierced by these cutaneous nerves and also by external jugular vein. So this is investing layer of deep cervical fascia, which forms the final roof. Then last, the floor, which is formed partly by Semispinalis capitis here. So label this as Semispinalis capitis. Then Splenius capitis. So we'll draw Splenius capitis here. Label this as Splenius capitis. Then Levator scapulae. This muscle forms the floor. This is Levator scapulae. And then Scalenus, posterior and medius. So this is Scalenus posterior and this is Scalenus medius. These muscles form the floor. Now, these muscles are also covered by prevertebral fascia. This concept is important for clinical correlation. So, the muscles, that is the floor of the posterior triangle, it's covered by prevertebral fascia. Prevertebral fascia. So these are the boundaries of posterior triangle. In the next video, we will learn the division and contents of the posterior triangle. Thanks for watching. Please share your valuable suggestions. This is Mars, where medicine meets meaning. Thank you.